Hey, it's Mike. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship and realized way too late that all the warning signs were there right from the start? If you're nodding your head right now, this video is exactly what you need. Because today we're diving deep into the dating red flags you're probably ignoring, and more importantly, why recognizing them early matters so much. And trust me, the last red flag I share today might seriously surprise you. Let's start with something we've all encountered at some point. Mixed signals. We've all been there, right? One minute, they're texting you constantly, giving you attention, and then suddenly, radio silence. You're left wondering what happened. This hot and cold behavior isn't just annoying, it's a huge red flag. Here's why it matters. Consistent inconsistency usually indicates emotional immaturity or unavailability. You might brush it off as them being busy, but here's the reality. You deserve clear and consistent communication. But hold on. If mixed signals are an issue, what's causing them? That's exactly where the second major red flag comes in. Someone who moves way too fast. Have you ever met someone who, on the second or third date, is already talking about moving in together? Or even marriage? At first, this intense attention feels flattering. It might even seem romantic, like they're genuinely into you. But here's the twist. People who rush relationships often aren't interested in building a real connection. Instead, they're looking to fill a void. They're chasing the excitement of something new rather than creating a healthy partnership. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself constantly making excuses for someone's behavior? Like, maybe they're rude to a waiter or dismissive of your opinions, but you find yourself thinking, they're just having a bad day. Or maybe they didn't mean it that way. If this sounds familiar, you're actively ignoring another massive red flag: disrespect. Small acts of disrespect early on always escalate. It's easy to overlook at first because we're eager to give people the benefit of the doubt. But consistent disrespect isn't something you should ever tolerate. But here's a question. Why is it so hard to recognize these red flags when they're happening right in front of us? It's because when you're attracted or emotionally invested, your brain literally becomes biased. This is known as the halo effect, a psychological phenomenon where your feelings for someone blind you to their flaws. The tricky part is, how do you overcome this natural bias? Stick with me, because later in this video, I'll show you exactly how to sharpen your red flag radar so you never overlook these signs again. But first, there's another crucial red flag you absolutely can't miss: isolation. Is your partner subtly pulling you away from friends, family, or the activities you love? Maybe they seem possessive, claiming they just want more alone time with you. At first, it feels nice to be wanted, but here's the hard truth. Healthy relationships encourage your independence, not restrict it. If someone starts isolating you, it's often a precursor to controlling behaviors. Now, let's talk about another overlooked sign: the blame game. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Someone who never takes responsibility and always finds a way to pin everything on someone else. Maybe their ex was crazy, their boss is unfair, or somehow the waiter always gets their order wrong. Seems harmless at first, right? Not quite. Constantly blaming others reveals a deeper issue: an inability to handle accountability. If someone refuses to own their mistakes, it means they'll eventually blame you for everything that goes wrong in the relationship too. And speaking of accountability, how can you hold yourself accountable to spot these red flags early? Here's a simple but powerful method I'll share in just a moment. It can genuinely save you months or even years of heartache. Before we dive into that, though, there's another sneaky red flag you might be missing without realizing it. Have you ever dated someone who constantly jokes about your insecurities, only to claim they're just kidding when you get upset? This subtle form of emotional manipulation is more harmful than it seems. It's known as negging, and it's intended to lower your self-esteem so you feel more dependent on their approval. But how can you clearly tell if someone is genuinely teasing or using humor to manipulate you? Stay with me, because I'm about to give you a foolproof method to recognize these subtle manipulation tactics. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's the thing. Genuinely playful teasing should never target your deepest insecurities or leave you feeling worse afterward. It should lift you up, not tear you down. So next time someone makes a questionable joke at your expense, ask yourself honestly, does this person seem to genuinely care about my feelings, or do they brush them off when I speak up? Paying attention to how they react when you express discomfort is one of the quickest ways to see their true intentions. All right, let's move on to another huge red flag that's easy to overlook: secretiveness. Have you ever felt like someone you're dating is constantly hiding things like their phone, their past relationships, or even just their day-to-day life? At first, you might rationalize it as them being private or reserved, but here's the catch. Relationships thrive on trust, transparency, and openness. If your partner is overly secretive, it's a sign they're not fully invested, or worse, hiding something significant from you. Now, speaking of trust, let's talk about another sneaky red flag that can erode it quickly: broken promises. We've all experienced this, right? Someone who frequently promises to change, to call, to show up, and then consistently fails to follow through. Maybe they apologize convincingly each time, so you keep giving them chances. But the hard truth is, repeated broken promises are not minor slip-ups. They're clear indicators of unreliability and disrespect for your time and feelings. At this point, you might be wondering, why do we even tolerate these behaviors in the first place? Here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain actually releases bonding chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine during romantic interactions, literally clouding your judgment. These feel-good chemicals make it easier to rationalize red flags, creating emotional blind spots that can keep you stuck in unhealthy dynamics. So how do you counteract these natural biases? One powerful strategy is to regularly check in with trusted friends or family who aren't emotionally invested in the relationship. They're more likely to see clearly what your brain is biologically wired to miss. Listen closely when they express concerns, because they're your emotional anchors, providing an objective perspective. Another crucial red flag is emotional volatility. Sure, everyone has occasional ups and downs, but does your partner have drastic mood swings that leave you constantly guessing? Maybe they're affectionate one day and distant or angry the next. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells, unsure of how they'll react. Here's the tough reality. This roller coaster isn't a sign of passion, it's emotional instability, and it's exhausting in the long run. Speaking of long-term effects, ignoring these red flags can seriously harm your mental and emotional health. Research shows repeatedly tolerating negative behaviors can erode your self-esteem and confidence, making it even harder to recognize healthy relationships when they appear. That's why recognizing these signs early is crucial. But what if you realize you're already deep into a relationship filled with red flags? Is it too late to address them or walk away? Absolutely not. The first step is self-awareness, clearly identifying what you're experiencing and accepting the reality without excuses. Next, communicate your boundaries clearly. Healthy people respect boundaries. Unhealthy people consistently challenge or ignore them. If your boundaries aren't respected, that's your cue to leave, because staying will only reinforce patterns that harm your well-being. Finally, here's a practical exercise to help you clearly spot and address red flags early. After each date or significant interaction, take 5 minutes to reflect honestly. Ask yourself questions like, did I feel comfortable being myself? Were my boundaries respected? And did I ignore any warning signs or make excuses for their behavior? Journaling these reflections can give you undeniable evidence of unhealthy patterns before emotional attachment clouds your judgment. Remember, red flags aren't minor inconveniences. They're clear warnings about deeper issues. Acknowledging them early can save you from unnecessary heartache and empower you to pursue relationships that genuinely uplift and fulfill you. If this resonated with you, stay tuned, because in my next video, I'll share exactly how to attract healthy, emotionally available partners. You won't want to miss it.